As I am late to the punch as usual of Sonic the Hedgehog here, possibly by like a week or so, there's a lot that I want to talk about in terms of Sonic Frontiers Update 3, or as it is officially known as, the Final Horizon. While many out there in Sonic YouTube have already spoken about their opinions earlier on during the days when the update did release, my dumbass decided to wait out the storm and then look out the window to see if my opinion even mattered. I like to think that it does, but I mean we'll see after this video's over. But with that small context stated now, I can say with confidence on my chest that this free Sonic Frontiers DLC, update, or whatever it is that you want to call it wasn't good, but it's not like it wasn't bad either. Like the best way to describe it would be that if you look at the dictionary for the word flip-flop, you would find Final Horizons right there next to my idiot face because of how much I've spoken about this DLC in the past. For now though, I think it's time to finally throw all my 2 cents into this update and then try and claim the title of the definitive review in quotations, as there are a lot of highs, definitely some lows, and even a middle ground that I think not a lot of people have covered, and I'm here to do all that for you. So now if you allow me to do all that, of course, then let's tread the waters and truly explore this Final Horizon with Sonic and the gang here, because wow, there is really a lot to say about this one for sure. The Final Horizon update doesn't offer much in terms of story, rather than provide a different scenario of the original game's ending portions, which was one of the most crucial flaws that this game had. In the original game's ending, the so-called climax against the End and Supreme were made to be just another boss fight to deal with, and if you had the game on hard mode, then you were presented with Ikaruga, which, I guess made sense. Okay, also while we're at it, this wasn't as bad as you people made it out to be, so, just get good at bullet hell games. But in the Final Horizon, however, this all dramatically changes, as it turns out that the original game's ending was a simulation ran by Sage, and that the real action starts with Sonic learning how to harness the power of cyberspace while the gang go about collecting the Chaos Emeralds this time around. Oh, and Eggman sits around and does something, I guess. I don't know, I mean, I know the dude later packs some god tier heat at the end, but alright. And so after collecting the 7 fruit gushers and learning the true power of pain, Sonic then proceeds to go supersonic to stop Supreme, and later go even further beyond to stop the End, giving us Supersonic 2 to finish the fight and also just be edgy in the process. God, I'm so happy they made Supersonic cool again. Like, look at him! Look at him! Besides all that, the ending is more or less the same as before, and the only difference would be that instead of Sage being plugged into the goofy Evangelion to destroy a purple moon, she now lives and gets to be with her father and perhaps explore some mischief in the future. Also, this kinda makes murder of Sonic the Hedgehog canon, since she shows up at the end there as well. Like, damn, everything really is canon in the Sonic universe, huh? Without boring you much of the additional details, the additional story beats were great and definitely fleshed out the endgame a lot better compared to the original. I like the presence of the characters here more so than before, given that they have a role to play in this, and seeing that Sonic is learning to harness a new power the more you go through the update story allows for a more interesting narrative to be woven. Certainly doesn't feel as anticlimactic given the fact that you had to suddenly shift playstyles to do it, and it also leaves a better taste in the mouth of a jaded Sonic fan that already considered this game to be good from the beginning. But the other stuff, however... Look, I don't know if you can see that I have like baggy eyelids here, so yeah, that's because of Sonic. Yeah, that's all because of a blue furball. So as if the record has been broken for the past few days now, Final Horizon offers us playable characters for the first time since 17 years, with each having their own platforming segments that are literally highlighted by their own color schemes, so you know more or less what the hell you're even doing. Oh gee, wonder what this color means. Huh, I better start using Tails for this, I don't know. As playable characters on their own, they are rather fine in concept, allowing gameplay diversity that wasn't in the original release, even though I still hold a strong ass belief that this all should have been in the original game to begin with. But then after 17 years of them not being playable since, Sonic 06, you would be stunned to realize how much their controls actually suck upon their execution, because holy crap did they make me want to give it all up. They are all jank galore, and paired with the already jank control design that Sonic had previously, the update becomes less of a fun time and more of a chore to go through because it's now a battle of patience and your own sanity. Like, gone are the Adventure 1 days where Tails felt like you were actually speedrunning through a level and flying to your heart's content. Gone are the days where Knuckles' glide and climbing were actually responsive and didn't have a stupid delay animation that ruins the momentum of both exploration and platforming. And gone is Amy's hammer, because now Sonic Team decided that she's a Cali girl who reads tarot cards and fortunes instead of being a girl boss who swings a heavy ass hammer for combat. Seriously, why wasn't that her arsenal in combat, Sonic Team? She's known to use that since Adventure 1, and now you're just rejecting what made her Amy Rose in the first place? Oh, but because of the anime opening of Sonic Origins for Sonic CD, it shows she likes tarot reading, so let's make that her whole personality now. You see why I lost sleep over this? Regarding their platforming sections, either because I played this on the Nintendo Switch or because the update really is that stupid, there were moments where I just didn't really understand Sonic Team's overall intentions. While in some cases we would have to do some basic platforming, other times when we start unlocking the skills from their skill trees, it would end up feeling completely broken in some cases, as it could just negate the entire platforming segment and break the game in half, because, you know, that's a thing that you can simply do in this update. For example, like Tails here, where if you just spend time gathering skill points, you can get the Cyclone from Sonic Adventure 2, and its requirements to use it are actually pretty simple. As long as you have the boost, baby, then you can use the Cyclone to your heart's content. Emphasis on as long as you have the boost. So if this requires the boost to use, then, you know, I guess I'll just infinite boost with Tails, and just so you know, be in the frickin' air forever and completely break the entire purpose of even platforming with the dude in the first place, you know? Like, that's totally a thing you can do in this game, by the way. Gee, Flight Simulator really is built different nowadays. Next with Amy here, we have our multi-lock, and I don't understand it either. It does help with platforming, and since she's one of the easier ones to play with, I still hate how underutilized she was with a hammer. Imagine for a second that instead of the tarot cards, she had this triple jump that had her spinning around in a tornado with her hammer, and that would still provide the result of the tarot jump. Or have her 3-hit combo be hammer swings and then the stomp to be a big hammer stomp. Or hell, if you really wanted the tarot cards to be involved in her moveset, that should have just been projectile based moves similar to Sonic's little key blast kicks here and there. Oh man, now that I think about it, Sonic Team, you better hire me, buddy, because I can make your games even better. And finally, with Knuckles, buddy, he's rough, and I say that in the worst ways possible. The gliding is like learning to drift with a shopping cart at your local Target, because it's impossible to use him for the stuff he's known for. He even has the stupid delay that I mentioned where he just stops in midair to activate it, and why can't it just be so simple and, I don't know, glide? Seriously, you can't do anything with a glide here, and you can't turn for crap with Knuckles, because if you move the stick slightly in an angle, the dumbass is gonna turn an entire 90 degrees instead. Oh my god. In a bubble, they don't ruin the whole experience because they work fine enough to get a somewhat good time, but still not enough to feel completely satisfied that they are now back as playable characters. My main issue with them mostly stemmed from the idea that Sonic Team was being way too ambitious with their presentation that I think hinders their ability to perform in the long run. Of course, besides all of that and what I've already said, I can't really complain too much after all, given that this is free and all, but even then, I still wish they had put just a tiny bit more effort in their overall controls. But instead of that, they ruined the fun of Frontiers! Sonic Frontiers Update 3 offered a lot of content to explore and play through, but much like my lack of sleep, it also showed how much of a lack of adjustment and balance when it comes to handling the mechanics and content itself. Yeah, in case you didn't know, but I had to spend an extra amount of time trying to catch some sleep I lost after being frustrated by some of the stupid crap this update had, on top of already being behind schedule with uploads that I wanted to do for the month. Like a Bayonetta 3 retrospective perhaps, but I don't know, we'll see in like 3 weeks time. But as I said in the story portion, the content of this game is to have the 3 idiots gather the Chaos Emeralds for their gameplay, while Sonic's gameplay is all about trial and many, oh so many errors. So the whole premise of Sonic's part is that in order to unlock the power of Super Sonic 2, he needs to partake on trials that are on top of these 5 towers. So the means to access them is to climb to the top with some platforming that is both tricky and can also screw you over if you misplace Sonic in the process. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, my bad. I was showing you only up gameplay there for a second. Let me actually show you Sonic Frontiers tower climbing platforming instead. Here you go. You see where I'm getting at here? Listen here, I understand that somebody most likely made this joke already, but Only Up is a game that I can understand and actually vibe with its controls and gameplay. The whole premise of that game is of course to go up, similar to Getting Over It, but with more platforming based attached to it. This allows for more routes to take and more to play around with the controls and gameplay design of the game, but by no means it's hard because it's janky. It's hard because it's meant to be hard, adding a risk and reward factor that makes you appreciate that this game was meant to be hard. In Sonic Frontier's case, the game was never really made to be a platformer in the first place, but more of a sandbox arena for Sonic to traverse through, which is why the controls and Sonic's movement speed feel slippery and unreliable to use as actual platforming. Hell, the Cyberspace levels don't even have precise platforming in its design because Sonic Team knew damn well that you were meant to speedrun them and break the levels into with the fluidity of Sonic. So then why in God's green earth did they say, oh, let's make precise platforming when the game was never built with that to begin with? Again, I don't want to complain too much about a free update, or at least more so than I already have after calling it pointless, but the tower trials I really wish were better handled in terms of environmental design. Hell, I wish the platforming in general was made with better environmental design. What the previous game lacked in terms of atmosphere was the lack of using the actual environment around Sonic to give more or less something to offer visually, and with the towers, I honestly wish they did that. Instead of these blocks in your path that makes you feel like you're playing an unfinished product, I wish the tower's platforming was built on using the environment of the island, like have Sonic go underground and try and work his way up in one, or actually go inside the towers instead of around them to see the intricate level design that could have worked, but instead it's just random blocks that you have to do precise platforming on that again doesn't work for this game's controls. It all, in the end, feels like one big whole mess that is completely broken. But not as broken as my will to live. Additionally, with the towers, once you do finally reach the very top, then you have these trials to deal with, which are rather fine and do present that difficulty that Sonic Frontier's combat needed. They are mostly time trials that has you beating the enemy within the time limit, but in the other three, there are certain requirements that you can only do, which means you now have to remind yourself that, oh shit, Sonic has a moveset and you have to use that moveset now. And because of that, that is where I kinda like the trials a little bit, as they are of the good qualities of this game's update. But out of the 5 tower trials, there was one that really stood out from all of them, which was the final trial. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to discuss the final trial here, which was the boss rush trial. Oh god. Okay, so this part of the segment was written just about I had finished the boss rush as well as the final boss itself at around 1:30 a.m. followed by having to wake up at 6:30 to get to work and finish the script and provide a review that is late about a free update about a blue hedgehog that runs fast. God, I don't get paid enough for this crap. Now, after saying everything about the trials and the content provided, what do you think I will say about the boss rush trial, the final trial that you get to do before beating the update? Is it A, that they're easy and actually have a challenge presented in them? Or B, they are hard but presented something fun before the final boss? The answer is neither, because all of you are delusional. The boss rush is something that I can only sum up with, but it's fine, with a large sarcastic smiley face next to it, because in all honesty, what the hell were they even cooking with this? This was by far where most of my time was spent trying to beat the update, not because of the difficulty, no, the difficulty of the trial is fine, put limitations on Sonic to see if we can beat these bosses on their level 1 skill sets, that's totally fine. But because you have no time to think about your next move, the fact that you have to exploit a stomp attack just to get the job done, and learn to parry at frames I didn't even think was possible at times, the boss rush trial was something that just reminded me how Sonic Frontiers doesn't have a good combat system that could be exploited for good reasons. Now with this trial, you're just going at it with a 1-2 hit stop combo, and that's pretty much it. That's all you're gonna be doing to beat the bosses, and the parry for one feels like you're losing time rather than gaining it, especially if you don't regain rings back after each fight. It's lame, repetitive, and doesn't add any proper challenge to the fight, especially if you're doing it on hard mode, and they all feel shoehorned in as one trial trial instead of them being the previous trials that you've already done. In fact, thinking that out loud, I would have much preferred that because it would have added value to the trials and a great reward for doing them in the first place. Like have the Giganto fight be a time limit where beat it under 5 minutes with level 1 skills where it can be a try not to get hit challenge, or have the Wyvern fight require you to have the special parry twice in the fight where you twirl him around and throw him in a mountain, or you're gonna have to start the fight again, but also make sure to delay that special parry so you actually have to know when to do it. Or how in the Knight fight have the requirement of beating it under a certain ring count while also having those restrictions of time in place, or maybe hit the Knight with the shield parry a few times as a requirement for that boss trial while also doing the stupid 1-2 hit stop combo. All of these ideas would have just made sense for the previous trials, especially when you remember that you're talking to the pilots who once drove the Titans to battle in the first place. Oh my god, Sonic team, just hire me already. I am filled to the brim with great ideas. And what's worse about this is that they come right before the final fight, because after beating them, you then get going to fight Supreme as he was previously. And then after doing a 1-hit stomp combo on his ass, because you already have that on muscle memory, the real boss fight that we've been waiting for with the end finally shows up. And at that point, it's just pretty exhausting. But I will say that this part of the update was most likely my favorite part of it because of the music and just seeing Sonic go further beyond his limits to Super Sonic 2 and just parry stuff like it's nothing, even to the point where he just straight up become Akuma from Street Fighter and just wrecks the end. But besides all of that, it's more theatrical than an actual boss fight, but I would take it more than the Ikaruga segment since it feels more like a Sonic ending as Sonic gets blasted from a cannon to finish the fight once and for all, finally putting an end to Sonic Frontiers: The Final Horizon. And also my misery because god damn, talk about a free update giving me PTSD. Now, in case I didn't really stress before with all the complaints I've had surrounding it, I actually do love this update. The playable characters are back, the boss fights reminding us why we love Super Sonic, and the whole update presented the adventure era aesthetic to Sonic that we've long missed since the games back in 1998 and 2001 respectively. However, I also do find it a bit pointless because I for one wish that in the end it was in the base game in a different way and that the final boss fight here was the original experience rather than wait an entire year for it to be the case. Regardless though, I am still happy that we got the update anyways, especially getting it for free. In some bizarre way, Sonic Team and Kishimoto demonstrate that they do want a bright future for Sonic, and while as janky, horrible, and downright stupid they were to take considerations from Sonic Twitter of all places, they did a rather good job executing their ideas even if it was bad in the long run. It shows ambition, and I am happy to see that ambition be brought back for the franchise. But what makes me wonder the most about this update though is really the steps they are taking for Sonic, because while it is shaping the future for Sonic, how long will that future be realized before the same happens again? Because if I remember correctly, Sonic Unleashed was supposedly the future for Sonic in 2008, and then we ended up having the Meta era. Sonic Adventure 2 was also considered the future for Sonic in 2001, and we ended up having Sonic 06. And basically in between, we have scraps of good quality content, but was thrown into the mix under the results of Sonic fans not treating it right. So in my case here, what does this future really mean for Sonic with Frontiers? Of course, I won't get a solid answer now, but at the end of the day, Sonic Frontiers does show us a glimpse of what Sonic is becoming and could become. But with Update 3 here, I'm starting to worry about the future of Sonic Team a little bit more and how much they can continue to make Sonic as good as he's supposed to be. But with that question is what I'm gonna leave off with the video because I'm tired, I need some sleep, and I have a bunch of other videos that I gotta work on that I'm behind schedule for, like I said, so yeah, I guess I'll see you guys with that next one. Also, if someone is planning on typing skill issue in the comments, I swear